Hello and welcome to today's presentation. My name is William Lord. I'm a mechanical design engineer here at WasteTech. I've been in the recycling industry for over 10 years now, and I've been using the SolidWorks software for probably even longer, about 12 years now. So the topic of today's presentation is improving the time taken to process a design. So firstly, I'd just like to go over some key terms just to help everyone understand the presentation a bit better. So the first one is a drawing pack. Basically, a drawing pack is all of the drawings that are needed in order to manufacture a design. When I talk about to process, basically this just means to process a design means to go through the drawing pack and to compile a list of all the raw material that's necessary in order to manufacture that design. SolidWorks is a 3D computer-aided drawing pack, and in SolidWorks there are three types of files. I just have a little prop here to help illustrate the point. So the first type of file is a part file, and basically a part file is just a 3D model of a single component. So in this case we have a blue part and a yellow part. The second type of file is an assembly file, and that is simply a file made up of a number of part files. The third type of file is called a drawing file, and this is basically just a 2D representation of either a part file or an assembly file. And this is generally what people think of when they think of engineering drawings. It's the drawing that's printed out, that has the different views, the dimensions, the material type, the surface finish, and yeah, it's pretty much just the drawing that people think of when they think of engineering drawings. And within SolidWorks, you can place data into all three types of files. So you can put information into a part file, you can put information into an assembly file, and once that information is in the part file or the assembly file, it can easily be compiled into any sort of format you want, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet, for example. So just moving on to the next slide. I'm just going to run through the current process that we use. So basically the first step is a design is completed in engineering. All of the drawings are then printed out, given to the production manager. The production manager will then go through every single drawing in that drawing pack manually, listing all the material that's used and compiling a list that is then given to the purchasing manager in order to purchase the material to make that design. And the process that I'm going to talk about improving is the process where the production manager manually goes through every single drawing, which I feel is an inefficient process and can be improved greatly by utilizing the SolidWorks software. So on to the next slide. This is the proposed improvement that I'm talking about. And the first thing I want to talk about is information from SolidWorks. As I mentioned before, once it's in the part file or the assembly file, can easily be transferred into a spreadsheet format. The way I propose we do this is, as the engineer is designing the design, he enters the material into the part as he goes along. And obviously this will be slightly longer than our current process where they don't do that, and I'll get into the time later on. So as I mentioned before, once all the information is in the part file or the assembly file, it can easily be compiled into a list. And once this list is compiled, we already have all the material we need in order to manufacture that design. And this means that the production manager no longer has to manually go through every single drawing, which will save a massive amount of time. So just going on to the next slide, which will sort of give you an idea of how much time and money we could actually be saving. So just an example would be a design made up of 400 parts. Currently roughly takes the production manager 5 hours to process. Now taking that same design of 400 parts, it roughly takes an engineer 10 seconds per part to input the information of what material that part's going to be made of. And so 10 seconds for 400 parts works out at roughly 1.1 hours. So that's a saving of 3.9 hours for a design that has 400 parts. And just putting this in a few different terms, weekly this is 31.2 hours, which would be a rough saving of $936 per week. Monthly that works out to 124 hours, which is $3,720 per month, and yearly that works out to be 1,498 hours, which works out at about $45,000 a year. Now, taking the current economical climate, I feel like this is just an unnecessary expense that we could be saving if we just utilize the software a bit more efficiently. And that's pretty much my presentation. I was just wondering if there's any questions or...
How long would it take to implement this across the office?
We could pretty much start straight away. Like, this is simply changing what the engineers do very slightly. It's one small additional step that, yeah, straight away we could implement.
Would we need to retrain any of the staff, or?
No, the only thing the production manager would probably have to get used to the new process, and possibly the automatically generated spreadsheet from SolidWorks might look slightly different than the spreadsheet that he generates, but ultimately all the same information is in there, and I would say like a day, 2 days, he would be up to speed on the new format.
Okay.
So thanks very much for your time.